All right, I'm working on a personal project here, a Thanksgiving project. It is 2 days for Thanksgiving, and I travel about an hour, 2 hours for Thanksgiving, and I'm often tasked with not creating a cocktail, but when that day people are always asking me to make them cocktails, I don't want to be making cocktails all the time, and I thought this would be a good chance to use some punch recipes. I want to do some punch recipes in the future on YouTube here, like some large format punch recipes that you'll find in books like David Wondrich's book Punch, which is an excellent book. But today's are going to be a couple of historic ones that are based on punches from here, as well as a modern punch. But I'm going to milk wash all of them. So if you've not done the milk washing before, or milk clarification, I should say, this is what we're going to be doing today. It's very simple. You don't really need any special tools. And I'm loosely following recipes. I'm adapting a few things to put them where I like them. I'm not entirely sure these are all going to work, but I'm going to give you the results anyways. This little less polished video. But today, I'm going to be making a version of Alton Brown's Clarified Milk Punch, which is a version of I think it's called the Ruby Port Punch from Punch. It's an old historic, one of the oldest historic punch recipes that calls for rum and a port. I'm changing it quite a bit. I haven't decided yet. I was going through my stockpiles here, and I had an open bottle of Madeira, which is kind of old now. It's kind of a good time to use this. I don't know if I want to open the bottle of port, but I would probably open this. It's a tawny port this time of year anyway, so I might do this. I'm not sure. And then I've already picked out kind of the spirits I'm going to do. So we're going to do that Alton Brown Clarified Milk Punch-esque drink. And then we're going to do an orange punch. There's a whole kind of section here on orange punches, and they were really popular back in the 1800s. And they're pretty basic orange juice, fresh orange juice, but I'm going to use some store-bought orange juice. And I'm changing that up to just update it. We're going to use some of my acid solution because you do want some acidity in these drinks. That's where the clarification magic can happen. So if we don't have enough acidity, it probably won't clarify. So using citric acid or using my acid adjuster solution to mimic at least parts of the juices to be more in line with lemon or lime juice. And the last one I'm going to do is, I saw it on the cocktail chemistry website when I'm searching for these punches yesterday. It's a Pina Colada, and I've not tried that yet. So we'll see. I'm adapting that as well to be a little bit more in line with what I like. So this will be a hodgepodge type situation. I'm going to make them kind of like make them all at the same time. I'll complete each one before putting the milk in it, and then I'll put the milk in them all at the same time and then filter them later. So let's start with that Alton Brown version, the Ruby Port Punch. Starting with the black tea that I just brewed, it's 2.5 cups of tea plus, I think, 8 tea bags, just steep for 3 minutes. But you can use any tea that you like here. And now 2 ounces of lemon juice. Then it calls for a 1/4 cup plus, let's see here, 2.5 tablespoons of sugar. I'm winging it here a little bit just to mix things up and use things. So I'm going to be using, I just use a 1/4 cup of white sugar. And then I have some Demerara sugar left over from when I was doing my sugar syrup recipes. I'm going to use 2.5 tablespoons of this sugar. And I'm going to use my Madeira and the port. So I'm just going to try to split it. Calls for 4 ounces of dark rum, and I'm going to be using my Infinity bottle here. When I did the dark rum video, I think I had 12 to 16 dark rums. I took all the leftovers I had and just put them in here. I did leave out some of the bad ones, like the Crucian Black Strap. I left off some of the bad ones. I also left off some of the good ones because I had like an ounce or two, and I didn't want to waste them and put them into here. Now, the next step is the most important. You're going to add the tea to milk. So you're adding tea to milk. not milk to tea, it does make a difference because you want it to curdle slower. And if you add all of the milk into the tea, then it's going to start curdling in just certain areas, and you're not going to get a great clarification. To demonstrate a little better, what I should have done is because this is kind of cloudy and not pretty looking, I'm going to move this into here, and then we'll put our milk in here first. And I already forgot something. We're doing 4 ounces of the Batavia arrack. So it's just about a cup of milk. And important to remember here that this isn't all final. Like if your milk punch, once it's done and clarified, it's not boozy enough, you can add more booze. If it's not sweet enough, you can add more sugar. If it's too sweet, you can add more booze. So you don't have to be stuck with it as is. The only thing is, you can't add more tea. You can't add more juice to it because you'll be kind of messing up the clarified process because we're stripping a lot of that out. I also think this is when you should be using cheaper bottles you're trying to get rid of. When it comes to the rum today, I'm going to use Appleton Estate. Some of these recipes call for like Smith and Cross, which I think would be fine, but part of the clarification process we're going to do right now is stripping out some of the flavor of these things. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense to use something that's expensive when you're doing a clarified punch. Now, a regular punch, yeah, because you're keeping all of that in there. And that's what's going to happen right now. We're going to pour this in. And the curdling was a lot slower. So we're just leaving it alone. We're going to let this set up, and we will come back and filter it later. We'll work on our other punches right now. All right, the next one is the American milk punch, or American orange milk punch. And normally you would be using fresh orange juice. If you've ever bought in one of these bottles, they turn pretty fast. I tend to throw these out a lot, and I freeze a lot too, but I wanted to just use these. It tastes great. But like all of this, I'm trying to get rid of stuff here. It's a good chance to kill some bottles, whether it's a juice or if it's actually like a bottle of rum or cognac. So I'm going to start with 8 ounces of orange juice. This is one of those recipes that called to make like an orange oleo. Basically, you kind of make the punch by taking the peels and the sugar and then letting them sort of macerate and then adding everything else. I had some orange oleo that I recently made, so I'm going to add that to this as well. Also, I'm just keeping my oleos in the freezer now because that works fine. I'm just adding in 1 ounce. Now I want to treat this punch like I'm using lemon juice because we're going to clarify, so we need some acidity. So instead of adding acids, I'm going to use my acid adjuster. You could add acid to this as well. I'm just treating my orange juice, I hope this isn't too confusing, as if I'm acid adjusting 2 ounces of it. So I'm going to be adding in 8 milliliters of my acid solution. Then 50 grams of sugar. Doing 4 ounces of rum. 4 ounces of cognac. 8 ounces of water. Now, same as before, I'm running low on big containers, so I'm adding a cup of milk to the large container first. My hope here is that this kind of has an Orange Julius vibe, and I'm going to make it first and then see if it's good or not, or go through the clarification and then see if maybe a little bit of vanilla can help. And then add your punch to your milk. All right, the Pina Colada recipe uses pineapple juice and lime juice. You can do that. I'll put a link in this description to where I found the recipe, but I'm instead using more pineapple juice and then going to be using my acid adjusting solution and then just kind of leaving it as is. This calls for coconut water instead of a cream of coconut or coconut milk. I think you could probably use coconut milk here. I just want to follow this recipe to see. I'm pretty sure the Cocktail Chemistry website is also a YouTube channel that I think used to make videos, and I think everyone likes all of those cocktails. So that's what's hard about researching these things on the internet. There's so many like blogs that I don't trust, but this one seemed trustworthy, so I want to try this first and then adjust it later or for future batches if needed. I need 7 ounces of coconut water. And yeah, I realize that I could have been building them all in here, but it's just not as accurate. But I really don't think you need to be super accurate when you're doing these punches. It's like the slushy recipes. You don't have to be down to the milliliter or even the quarter of an ounce, but I try to be. Next, I'm going to add in 7 ounces of fresh pineapple juice, but use whatever pineapple juice you want. Recipe calls for a small amount of simple syrup, which I'm going to leave off since I added a little more pineapple juice. I'll adjust that when we're done if it's needed. Calls for 2 ounces of Allspice Dram. This is my own homemade Allspice Dram that I made a couple years ago. But same thing, I'm just trying to get rid of some older spirits and bottles I have. And then 6 mils of the acid solution. All right, so I think this is the great chance to use cheap rum. I'm going to use cheap rum, but first I have a little bit left over of some Stiggins pineapple. This would be a great use for it here. If this was all I had left, I wouldn't use it. I have another full bottle over here. That's why I'm going to use it. I need 12 ounces of rum total. And this is what I'm talking about. Using stuff you have, use something else, but the harshness from some of these rums is going to be removed. I mean, that's kind of the purpose. That's the reason they used to do milk clarification, was to strip these harsh spirits that were disgusting. I'm running out of containers. All right, 1 cup of milk goes in. And we wait. All right, it's been over an hour. You could wait a couple hours here, but probably at least an hour. And now we're going to filter. I'm going to use a Chemex. You don't have to use a Chemex. You can use any paper coffee filter you have. All right, as complicated as I think initially this process can seem, it's very easy. And if you don't want to go to the trouble of using the acid adjuster solution, you can just swap out 2 ounces from those recipes of a juice with lime juice or with lemon juice, whatever you want. Then you're gonna get the right acidity you have to do the clarification. So they've all been clarified. They're all very clear. The orange is the one that has the most still clear. It's just like a touch hazy. You could always filter these again if you cared that much, but it's easy. It's an easy process. You can store these in the fridge, which I would normally do and drink them cold with a large ice cube. But since I just made them, let's try them. And if you're wondering about the yields, the first one I shared, which is the one with the port and the rum, the ruby port, even though we didn't use a ruby port, that one was about 1 liter. The other ones were about 800 milliliters. So it's able to fill 750 milliliter bottles plus do these tastings right here. So let's try the one with port and rum, and I guess it has Madeira in there as well. It's pretty mild. It's mainly the port that you can taste. I guess the Madeira too, because there's enough of it in there. It's got the luxurious, feeling, mouthfeel. These would be better if they were cold because the ice is just diluted them since it's room temp right now. And you can get a little bit of the Batavia arrack because it has that intensity to it. But it's very good. It's very mild, and that's what I'm looking for with these, is to have something that's anyone can drink, not super strong, not super high ABV. Stripping away a lot of the tannins from the tea, I can taste a lot of the tea and then grape. So the flavors of the tea come through, but in a much more pleasant experience. If you followed along here and you saw the tea time video I did, Dave Arnold did the same thing in that cocktail, which is remove the tannins from the tea and then make a tea with vodka. That's a delicious cocktail. So this is along those same vibes as this one, but that port brings in something that's very different. All right, the orange is the one I'm probably the most worried about because I just kind of changed it a lot to update it to how I would make it, since the only recipe I saw was the the ones from the 1700s. So let's 1800s maybe. Let's try it. It's faintly orange. You can definitely taste the orange, but this goes back to the whole concept of these and why they can be tricky sometimes. Is when you are stripping out the spirit when you're clarifying, and you don't have to do that. You could always add the spirit after, but that's, the rum in there, the cognac. I don't think I taste it. You could also adjust your ratios of dilution. I used a lot more orange juice than you normally would, and I added that water in there too. So I'm gonna probably bump this up by adding just a couple ounces, maybe like just 1 or 2 ounces of rum, and then a little vanilla extract to see how much I can help that out, because it is it's pretty mild, but it has a nice oranginess to it that that's a little bit different, but definitely not an orange Julius. All right, let's try the Pina Colada. And this one's tough too because I knew that Allspice Dram was going to be kind of overpowering, and the first thing you taste is Allspice Dram, and then some pineapple. But same thing, you're stripping out so much flavor through the clarification process that using Bacardi here is the smarter thing to do. Something cheap, because using something that is expensive, just it totally is going to get taken out when you do the clarification. This one is the least sweet. I skipped out on the little bit of simple syrup that was in there. I'm going to add that to this bottle just to sweeten it up a little bit. But all in all, these are good clarified milk punches. I really like clarifying milk punches. I'm not as much into clarifying full cocktails because I think there's so much competition there with what your mind thinks that cocktail should taste like. But when you do a milk punch, it's a punch, and there's not always context for what that should be. All three are pretty good. I'm leaning towards the Alton Brown one as kind of my favorite, but I might even dial down the port and up the spirit there, just to bring a little more of that rum flavor into it. But this kind of all goes back to where I started, which is it is hard on the internet to find a punch recipe to follow, that spending this time to do it, and the volume, and ending up with something that you're really going to love. And the David Wondrich book, while I love it, it's hard to follow the historic ones. It's a little bit challenging to follow even his updated recommendations. They're not just straight recipes, but even so, most of those are not milk clarified punches. They're just punches. So then when you clarify it, you're taking out that flavor. So all of these are pretty good. Be interested to see if you've ever made any of these, or plan on making any now or for the holiday season. But I'm going to revise these a little bit and make some more regular punches coming up in the next month or so. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.